Knowing is half the battle. So we are back, and boy, it's been another crazy
It's
week.
been a minute.
About a week, but
Yep.
I don't know about you, but it's been hot up here. Been hot down there, undoubtedly. Hot all over the
Oh, it's
U.S.
Florida.
Very hot in Europe as well, but nothing they can do about that there.
hmm
However,
Nothing.
in the area of Philadelphia, it was also very hot. They had a heat wave, as a matter of fact. It was
Oh yeah.
so hot, in fact, that well, they had to cancel FurCon.
No, they didn't. They could have kept it
Um,
going.
well, the parade.
They didn't have to cancel it.
Well, they didn't have to, but they did. Or sorry, not
Most
FurCon,
unfortunate.
Anthrocon. So the Anthrocon parade was actually canceled because that. So some of the quotes are.
No,
Uh,
it just sounds like they didn't want heat stroke. I'm saying that they could have done it for entertainment.
oh, they could. Well, here's one of the quotes. These suits get very, very spicy. Anthrocon safety director Nick Terwilliger.
What? Well, certainly not Old Spicy.
No, no, not at all. A totally different spice. So we are
Same here.
continuing to increase our staff size because safety is very important. Oh, is it? Are they going to be in the rooms for the... Anyway.
There are details we do not need to know.
Yeah, there's a... Anyway, so yeah,
I
Anthrocon
am
is this weekend or
fucking
whatever, and
happy
they're
to be
not...
ignorant of them.
And they're not going to have the parade, so... Philadelphians, you can rest easy, at least in that. You know, sometimes you get a win. You know, sometimes the heat isn't your enemy. It's just
See, I
trying
still
to
think a
protect you.
win would have been like I mean, it would have been difficult. A slight hospital overflow,
I mean,
perhaps.
you know, any number of things can
I
happen.
think lessons would have been learned, though.
True, true.
Possibly.
Well, possibly is the better term there, I'd say.
Yeah. I think
'Cause,
that public entertainment is needed here. If they're going to be doing some kind of march out in public, then we should be entertained. There's just only so many ways that the entertainment can actually happen there.
true, true. But on the note of entertainment and being entertained and or bread and or circuses and letting them eat cake specifically, let's zoom in on New York City, where
Uh huh.
it was always going to happen. The question was just when. And I'm sure you probably already know what I'm alluding to, but if somehow you don't, the commies need more money. So the Mamdani's
It's
advisory
weird how that
committee,
happens.
they've come up with a solution to some of the city's problems. You know, that are really going
Well, I'm
to.
guessing it's going to be taxing just the super rich, right?
Interestingly, no, that is not this specific solution. Although it
Okay.
is in line, it
Is
is
it going to
in
be
line.
just begging New York State for money?
Also, no.
Is
Also, no. Funny
Hopeful
enough,
supposed to, no? Okay. Is it just going to be like slightly raising taxes on a small subset of people who can
mm,
somehow afford it?
you're close. You're close, but not
Oh,
quite.
oh
I'll
no.
fill you in here. It's what you just said, like raising taxes by a little bit, but instead of taxes, it's
Uh huh.
salaries, and instead of
Oh,
people that are suffering, it's Mom Donnie's employees.
right.
So the New York City leadership will be looking at a 118.2% pay upgrade on their current salaries. You know, they're working very hard. You know, Craig,
Sure.
very hard.
I'm getting paid, I hear.
Oh yes, well of course, making sure that the money is flowing
Don't think it'll
to
be
the
anyone
top,
else.
as you know, as they do.
No, they don't do
Oh, New
much,
York
but they
City,
do that.
New York City. Tell you what, they picked a real winner, picked a real winner. And speaking of winners, in this case, not so much from the Arab lands, more the Indian lands. No, not mine, the other ones. So some news from Microsoft. We've got another Windows 11 bug because, I mean,
Okay.
it is a day of the week after all. And of course, you'll notice that we haven't actually reported on any really noteworthy Windows bugs in the past few weeks because, I mean, they're there, obviously,
No,
but they're not worth reporting
because
on.
every day there's another one.
Exactly. But when it's worth reporting on, by golly, we're going to be there. So you're going to love this. They got a new one.
Oh, am I?
Oh, yes. The
Oh, boy.
Capability Access Manager. It normally...
That sounds important.
It is. It is. Normally, it's generally a few megabytes, but with this new bug, it can grow to a half a terabyte or more.
Oh, is that in system memory, or is that on your hard disk? How does that work?
Oh, yeah. No, that's on your hard disk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Half a terabyte.
Yeah, just sitting there. Maybe you've got
Huh?
your operating system on a 1 terabyte SSD, and you've found that Windows is completely glitching out because it's got no space to write anything. Well, then you'll probably want to get the latest update, KB 509.5093. It just went live today. I'm telling you, they have truly vibed themselves into a corner.
Well,
As you do, I suppose. So yeah, there's your latest
it's-
update. Of course,
it's-
as said, it was really only a matter of time before we came back to this.
It's one of those things where, like, the silver lining is that more people know what Linux is, I guess. Sort
Yeah,
of.
yeah, absolutely. Getting the word out there.
Just, the downsides. The downsides include the possibility of yet another Randy Lee Harper showing up. Don't get any more of those.
Well,
Yeah,
you'll have that.
There's enough people. There's enough people selling their crack babies while snorting meth off of the toilet.
It's funny you should mention that because
Oh boy.
it's funny you should mention that because here this last weekend, July 4th, I hope
Hilarious.
everybody that's tuning in had a wonderful Independence Day, wherever you might be, and if you're not here in the States, I hope you had a really nice weekend. And on that same note,
Of American awesomeness, yes.
absolutely, I hope you were tuned in to the largest fireworks display in the history of history. It was epic, legitimately ridiculous. But speaking of crackheads and crack babies, there's this lady who has been charged with indecent exposure. Lady by the name of Bernita Bolding.
So like similar to Reality Winner, but not really a winner or in reality.
Sort of. And she is a frequent user of public transit, DC public transit. As a matter of fact.
You say user, and there's so many ways that you could interpret that word.
There are, and I
Some
think
people
that
use
my choice of
a
that
form.
word is intentional.
Some people use a car to
Mhm.
drive. Some people use a form to fill it out.
Some people use a toilet.
Some people use a toilet
Yep,
in the bathroom.
some people do.
Some people use food,
Uh huh.
and some people use train cars in the same way people use food.
Some people do. Yeah, that's true. So real quick,
Name
I'll
is
just
the
drop
latter
this
part of
over.
that.
I'll just drop this over here so you can get a first eye view. I'll drop that there so you can see because you'll see the loading
Oh,
image.
no,
You'll know
I
exactly
have
what
seen-
I'm talking about.
I have seen the
Oh, you've seen them before.
what happens. Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, there's this crazy lady, Bernita.
I didn't want to remember what happened, but here we are.
Here we are indeed. So she's a modern day Rosa Parks or some would have you know.
That is not the word that they are using.
It is
That is
not.
not the correct last name, sir.
Anyway,
Rosa is involved. You might even say she's Rosie.
you could. That would be an accurate statement. So anyway, she was Again, frequent user of DC mass transit, uses it for all sorts of things. And this one day, she decided to ride with a bunch of other people. And this one day, where this woman who, might normally find herself feeling very endangered to the point where she has to act crazy just to keep people from stabbing her in the neck like Irina Zarutska was stabbed. Surely that's what it is. I mean, she knows where she is, so she's just acting out to keep herself safe. Obviously, certainly, nothing else. And she was able to get a day of rest. She was able to ride on this train full of a bunch of white guys, perfectly safe and sound. Bunch of patriots, even. And so
there's that picture there with her, and there's the video of her being there.
There is.
And you have to wonder, after the CNN DSLR was put away, did she return to the behavior that she was exhibiting before they were all on the train? Did she give them a good show?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm also going to say no, because this is all relative. You see, when she's in this situation, she's acting out to the greatest extent she feels comfortable. That being, you can't sit in my seat. I ain't share my chair, white man. You can't sit here. Now, if none of these fellas were there,
to sit next to her, though.
Fair.
You notice that none of them were trying.
Well, I mean, look at that glower, dude.
That could be chalked up to racism on either side, frankly.
It could be, but I mean, considering all things, I have a
guess
feeling that she wasn't wanting to give up her seat.
Good neighbors. It could be one of those good fences make good neighbors social situation, but
I very much think so.
This seems like a train car I'd be entirely nonplussed by if it ran into a wall at maximum speed. And I didn't ever have to know that these people existed. Just a tragic footnote of, a train car crashed, and I go, I feel really bad about that. I'm so sad that these many people died, not knowing who or what they were about.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
I mean, there would be a number of people that died, and one feral animal too. So it would, it's like it's tragic. It's tragic when something like that happens, isn't it? Yeah, you hate to hear that news. You hate to hear that news. But anyway, moving on to more interesting and fun topics. We were talking about printers right before we got on. I figured I'd segue us into another one. In this case, Open Printer. Have you heard about this?
I have not. Tell me about Open Printer.
It's quite literally that.
It's a printer that's open. Okay.
Yeah, old school printer, not 3D printer. Like just a... runs off a Raspberry Pi. Hold on, let me grab the... picture for you.
It's just a printer.
Yeah, like literally just a classic old school printer, but assemble at home, open source everything, uses HP 302 cartridges, uses a Raspberry Pi 3, Pi Zero as like the main board, and all just readily available components, printable, everything else.
Make sure you do it with an Orange Pi or something similar, because
yeah. You'll want to make sure you go with the noted materials, otherwise you're going to have to do a little bit of your own firmware. That said though, vibe coding being what it is, it's not that big a deal. You're just going to have to, jump through a couple hoops that you might not want to have to jump through. But that said, let me grab the link to the actual thing here, and the idea is basically to make a printer that anybody can make at home. That's going to be relatively inexpensive.
Right.
Put it wherever.
You know that the printer itself has always been the loss leader.
Well, it has.
So they're not actually fixing anything.
Well,
with just the printer itself.
Sort of. Because they made the choice to go with the 302 cartridges. The 302s are specifically those are some of the easiest to refill.
Right.
And since it's running its own firmware.
So people think that they're people think that they're getting by and winning by using the refill, right?
I mean, it can be cheaper.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part, did you? That market's cornered too on the backside. You just don't know it because you're not one of the middlemen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they still make money off of that.
Huh.
You get a kickback. then
So
you're
there's
still
only
making
so many
money.
people making printer ink, huh?
Yeah,
Of course.
didn't think that part through.
It's always something, isn't it?
I'm not saying like it's bad to just buy a fucking cartridge or to fill your own stuff. Either way, it's just like
No, I'm not.
if
I'm not
you're
surprised
not
at all.
gonna if you go out of your way to do it for one reason, just know that you know that the reason is a good reason. If it's to screw HP, they're gonna make money off of it.
Well, there you go.
Because it's compatibility with their specific device, and because of that compatibility assurance, there's a kickback on the supply side because they know that they're going to be they have like the sale of a product is only as good as your knowledge that the market's going to exist next year, and that is direct confidence that the market is going to exist next year. So that is worthwhile to both HP and the ink supplier. The ink supplier provides to HP to continue using their inks in not only the primary market, but also the secondary and tertiary, and the 2 or 3 layers deep that you go on that. Like that is part of their business dealings, and by kickback, I mean they give them a premium rate. Like it's 6 of one, half dozen of another when it comes to this kind of shit. But like, it's premium rate on contract is partly guaranteed by the fact that these extra markets are going to exist in the first place. So the end result is that HP gets a larger markup.
So what you're telling me is that we need to bring back ink pads and daisy wheels.
I mean, you can go ahead and make your own burnt walnut ink if you want. It's just, have a good enough sieve, I guess. Don't jam yourself up.
Whatever. I don't think you can get daisy wheels even anymore.
Well, you can get a typeset typewriter. So
that doesn't surprise me, but I mean, the daisy wheel is honestly one of the.
I'm just saying, you can automate on that. Like, you don't need to have the standard 104 set or the 80 whatever the hell it is set. You can you can always. You don't even have to get them made out of iron. You can 3D print your own keys.
True that. Huh. Brother still makes daisy wheel products.
I bet.
I would not have expected that ever. Huh. Well, that's absolutely fascinating. Well, yeah, I guess that also applies to the question of what is the best printer for your computer, the cheapest Brother that you can find at the moment.
Well, so here's one of the interesting things when it comes to a Pi printer is whether or not you are dealing with tracking of specific varieties.
That's true.
So the tracking dots, the infamous tracking dots, they've always been a thing with printers since the fucking mid '70s.
I believe
you can see them. I mean, they're obvious. They're little dots on the page. They have standards numbers to them and everything, so you can. This is 100% lookupable information.
Total watermark thing, yeah.
So, that'd be an interesting one is to see how it handles that, because if it
now getting outside of that is interesting.
Because that's one of those things is if you print out something, you just have to look
like
at
if you were, for instance, you were putting out some sort of subversive literature to your local population.
Say you aren't even doing anything subversive. Say you're not doing something subversive. You're just being a jackass, and you print out like a whole bunch of copies of your own anus, and you just put them up around campus because the frat decided to haze you that way. All they have to do is look at the little yellow dots on the page, or just dots in general, depending on so black dots or yellow dots.
Yeah, whatever.
Just have to look at those, and they can determine the manufacturer, so the make and model, and the year of production. So, like from that, they can basically find out what store it was sold at and who bought it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward information, and depending on just how advanced information they're putting into those, there's also the fact that they might be putting in your TPM 2.0 serial if you're using a Windows machine. Oh shit!
You don't say.
Yeah, you ever wonder why they pushed so hard for TPM 2.0 and forced everyone to upgrade their hardware to go to the next operating system?
Yeah, it's a strange
It's a
world.
lovely.
Well, no, it's not that
a lovely
strange.
little world.
I shouldn't say that. It's an unsurprising world.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those things where they'll admit it to you if you ask them the right way, because they're proud of it. But I mean, it's one of those things where and you can go out. You just have to reinstall, like reimage from bare metal, and depending on the situation, you will get a new serial, or
A brand
you'll
new
get
uniquely identifiable number. Yes.
Well, you'll either get a brand new one or you'll get the old one.
Yahoo!
So if you just go for swap out the hard drive and slap in your media and boot into Windows fresh,
Yeah, no.
probably just gonna get the same serial.
Yeah, pretty much. Kind of related. You might have probably. I'm sure actually that you did catch this. Louis
I like that
Rossmann.
I have TPM 2.0 from when you had to buy it and plug it in, which is why I'm not allowed to upgrade to the next Windows version. That plus I have a Gen 7 chip, so there's the whole meltdown thing,
Yeah.
meltdown inspector. Anyway, you mentioned Louis Rossmann.
I did, and he did an upgrade, and
I bet.
and has run into an issue, unfortunately, with his upgrade. He got a Samsung 990 Pro 4 terabyte SSD.
I heard about this.
Yes, and it has a 5-year warranty, and he
It does.
Yeah, he didn't even get it all that long ago. Certainly,
And they fucked it up.
certainly less than 5 years. And he had it for less than one. He got it, of course, at a pretty good deal. 4 terabytes, $330. That's pretty fair, and especially if you look at prices today. So,
that's the
speaking
issue.
of prices today, he sent Samsung along the drive. All the evidence, all the tests, all the readouts.
Keep in mind, Louis Rossmann, guy whose entire job, specifically before he decided to get into the whole DIY activism and all their jazz, was just repairing computer components.
Yep.
So he knows the value of things and like what it's required to fix things, etc.
That he does.
Which means it'd be very stupid for a company to try and say,
Welch
lie
on
to
a
him
Welch on
about
a deal.
that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you'd think they wouldn't, but despite the fact that it comes with a 5-year
Samsung.
warranty, and despite the fact that he has proven largely beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is indeed a manufacturer defect, Samsung says no, and that it's working just fine. Mailed it right back to him, and that
see, Louis Rossmann's the kind of guy who's going to sue Samsung on principle.
Indeed.
He's they don't understand. This is not what this is the FARC.com we do not negotiate with terrorists kind of approach.
Pretty much.
He's just going to He's gonna sue them on principle, and he's gonna fucking win.
Well, the thing about it is, though, they didn't just hit him with that. So he said, all right, fine, then don't give me back the money. Just replace it. And they said they could not do that because they could only offer a refund at his original purchase price of $330 because it was out of stock. Unfortunately, it's not out of stock. It's in stock. But it's in stock for $950. And they should have just ate the loss because, as you say, not only is he the type of man who would take legal action, he is the man who is taking legal action. So we'll be keeping an eye on this one as it develops because it's going to be interesting because I've heard some tell that there might even be some people looking down from the government side on the antitrust nature of just how out of control these costs have grown.
Mind you that this isn't likely to be something that's precedent setting.
No.
This is most likely to be, they finally fucking settle out of court and give them what they fucking asked for.
Likely as not, yeah. Nonetheless,
Samsung, as boneheaded as some of their moves have been, they're pretty on the ball with this kind of shit. It's just that they thought they could screw a guy and shouldn't have done that.
It's like, yeah, it's one of those you don't fuck with Tony Corleone kind of situations. And he fucked with Tony Corleone. Or Louis Rossman in this case, but, close enough considering the overlap in this case. And since we're talking overlap and memory and all that good stuff, we should definitely talk about the great news. Oh, it's such wonderful news, Craig. You're going to love this. The engineers at Meta, they've been able to figure out, it's just something truly groundbreaking and wonderful. They're going to be able to use DDR4 memory in their servers and their data centers. Isn't that awesome?
Is that all they need?
So, not only are we not going to have DDR fucking 5, we're not going to have DDR fucking 4. So basically what they're going to be doing is using the DDR4 as like kind of like a cold storage with the 5 being like the the immediate and the hot storage, like using the 5 like RAM and the 4 like a hard drive basically.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Yay. Maybe in 2030 we'll be able to buy some fucking RAM. What do you think? Maybe.
Well, look, like part of this, aside from this just being to get our fabs up online, and that's in progress. I was explaining to someone just recently, like the data center thing. Like the reason why. So we used to be that. So how like all the services used to be like have 5 terabytes free, have 10 terabytes free. Join up with this, like you get Gmail and you get 20 terabytes free. And now that's all kind of like not happening anymore in the recent years. It's kind of gone downhill. So the reason for that is that data center floor space is a premium. You pay to rent that with your servers.
Sure.
And within the confines of however many square feet you are taking up, the apportionment is a premium as well. So when you dedicate space on the floor to storage, you are not able to use that space for compute. All this is obvious shit, I should hope.
Well, to some.
So, just saying, like you have $100 to spend in your day. If you spend $30 on food, you can't spend $80 on gas.
Sure.
So that the last $10 there, that is an over expenditure, and you can't spend additional square feet because there's no such thing as negative area, right? You can't double up on anything. It's just this is the amount of area you have to work with, and that's a hard limit.
Yeah,
So,
as much as we might like our server racks to be inside the TARDIS, they aren't.
right. So the compromise has been to decrease the amount of premium space, if you will,
Well, and the thing about
that
it
is
is, they
available,
they
and
legitimately
to recoup
can
it
just
harder.
do that. The demand is such that it's like, well, yeah, fuck it.
Right. So that's the thing is there is so there's this so you supply and demand curve. There's an increased demand for floor space because everyone wants to build out more compute fast, and there's a shit little of nothing. There's a huge fucking dearth of the floor space. We need data centers. Like this is beyond the whole like AI thing. Just in terms of floor space, period. We need data center space, um, and we need a lot of it. And with the exploding build out of compute requirement for AI and related products, the the normally more available space that is presented for building out your storage assets, so say your email storage space, etc., that is being crunched right now.
Well, I mean, how much do you fucking care about your email? We've got data
Well,
to
let me put it
compute
like
here,
this. Let me put it like this on email. Because of this kind of bullshit, uh, my alma mater decided to switch from Google because they came to them with a ridiculous price to Microsoft, who had a slightly less ridiculous price. This was like 2022, 2023.
Hmm.
So just to give you an idea of like how long this ramp up has been going on, like we're in a really bad spot as far as that goes right now. Even though they are actively building out data center space, we're gonna see this continue to be a trend until like 2030. So they switched over to Microsoft and kind of said goodbye to Google. So everyone had to scramble and make sure they got everything transferred. Then post graduation, so sometime in 2025, they decided to that Microsoft was too expensive for the for holding everything that alumni had in their system. That the persistent storage with I guess lower usage rates, so the storage rate was still there, but the I/O was lower. Uh, Meant that Google hosting was more appropriate.
Huh.
Like their price tag was lower, and what that meant was, unfortunately, and here's where the whole storage aspect comes in. It turns out I have to log in every 6 months or more frequently in order to
To maintain.
maintain. Yeah. Previously, it was promised to alumni that your email is forever. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I remember one
Yeah.
time when the internet was
Turns
forever.
out.
But yeah.
Yeah. So it turns out, and within the confines of your 20 gigabytes, this is over a decade ago. Within the confines of your 20 gigabytes of email, you have that 20 gigabytes forever. Like as long as you as long as you don't go over your allotted amount, that is yours basically forever. Which was different when I went to Virginia Tech. That was different from when I was at UF, where they said basically once you're out, um, you're lucky if we care. Transfer all your email stuff and make sure no one's going to be bombarding us with bullshit because we're going to reject it. It's like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm never going to have to worry about that email address again. Just need to tell everyone I don't own it.
Sure.
Virginia Tech's like, you just keep it. We'll set up email forwarding. We'll just let it go through that. Like, okay, cool. And then turns out that's not the case anymore. The allotment is down to 5 gigabytes out of 20. And because I hadn't been active for 6 months or more by the time I found out about this, they had reprovisioned the memory. So that means they deleted it all.
Ah, lovely.
So this is the kind of thing I'm talking about with the freemium spaces. And keep in mind, 20 gigabytes used to be what you got with your Gmail account, like for free.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be a number that kept going up.
I remember
when
those
you
days.
got notified about it.
We've increased your whatever to however much.
It used to be like, oh, you had 2 gigabytes. Oh, now you have 5. Oh, now you have 10. Here's 20. It's like, oh, cool. And then now it's, could you bring it back to 5?
Huh.
So this should tell you like the way they were building out data centers ahead of the curve to maintain a large flying and demand was relatively low. So they were able to afford these larger banks of hard drives, if you will. And more importantly, same kind of issue. Within that data bank that they had, they were able to apportion a larger fraction of it to users' emails, just using Google as an example.
Sure.
But now they need to store more data to describe, say, their LLM models, the training data sets, the tools they're using for them, all the related data. Now that as a data source is going nuts, they can't, even within the amount of hard drive space they have allotted on the floor, they can't apportion the same large amount of that to user data, like say emails. So these are fundamentally at odds pressures that these companies are grappling with right now, and more data centers is how you address that. Just outright, you need more floor space.
Oh, somewhat related, something that could be
I'll be right
helpful.
back.
Oh, yeah. Something that could actually be very helpful in basically reducing the load on these data centers is, I see a lot of folks that they're going out here, they're seeing these data collection devices, these flock cameras, and they're basically, they're saying, I feel bad for these data centers and all the data they're already having to process. And so they're preemptively removing those services from the data center drain. And I think that that's a very thoughtful and kind thing to do. So perhaps if you see any flock cameras, you'll consider doing the kind thing. For everyone, not just for the data centers. Everybody benefits when there aren't flock cameras. Well, I guess except for people that like flock cameras, but all I could say about that is I didn't see anything. Didn't see a single thing at all. Wouldn't know what to tell you. Yeah, well, sometimes things just fall over, even. Sometimes they've got a nice clean scribe line around them that causes them to fall over at that scribe line. Sometimes somebody will even go up to one with rotary tools and stuff just to make sure that instructions are adequately followed and all. Obviously, here at the Fake Untitled podcast, we wouldn't endorse any sort of guerrilla activities such as that. But if things happen, things happen. And if they do, then I don't know. Maybe you didn't see anything, because I didn't, right? But beyond that. And speaking of not seeing anything, I'll go back actually to something that is very well seen. You're going to love this. So we'll go back to actually what Craig was talking about with the Windows thing. So,
Right.
Oh, perfect timing. I was just going to go into the Peter Stokes example, or Peter Stokes, since you were talking about this related to Windows earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter Stokes has some malware out there. Ends up getting arrested, and he was tracked. Well, there should be no way he would be identifiable or tracked because he used good OPSEC, but he was Windows, and well, that's all it takes. So they called up the feds.
Oh yeah.
The feds were like, "Hey, Microsoft, we'd like you to check that global device identifier number. See where all it's been."
Well, see, they don't just have that. But yeah.
Oh, no.
They've
got more than that.
They fingerprint it.
But yeah, they've got him, and they've got him dead to rights. Every single thing that he ever did on that machine, anywhere that he ever connected to.
Like this, their telemetry pulls every piece of identifiable, as in provides an ID on the bus. Every piece of hardware that your computer touches is part of your fingerprint. Your security IDs, et cetera, et cetera. Now
Mm-hmm.
they don't include the actual like passwords or any of that as part
Yeah,
of
and
that.
it's not like they're not going to be listing out your file names, but we've talked about this before in the kind of
Well,
metadata
Windows
that's
11.
collected with cell phones. It's like, yeah, they're not getting the con the full
Well, this is the one.
conversation that you're having, but they're getting so many context clues.
So what I mentioned kind of took off with. Um, well, it started with Windows XP, and it kind of took off with Windows 7 and 8. And with Windows 11, it's just so much worse. And
Oh yeah.
you have to understand this type of information is a product.
Mm-hmm.
This access to this for law enforcement purposes is a product. That access.
Sure.
So it's not that the government has to subpoena Microsoft. It's that they pay Microsoft for the use of this product. So they say, I want to do a search on this information, and they do the search on that information under the provision that they're doing it for law enforcement purposes, as that's their TOS is this is legitimate law enforcement purposes, and then they get that information back because this is the information that. So like I said, with Windows 11, it's just a whole lot worse. It's not just that they're fingerprinting stuff more in depth. It's things like the recall mechanism that is still embedded in the operating system. Like it takes a screen cap every like 10 minutes or whatever of whatever's on your screen, and runs that through Copilot. Now keep in mind that part of the way that it's supposed to run this information through Copilot is that there's a reduced form of information. There's relevant information that it gleans from that screen cap and then retains as part of its normal routine function. The issue comes down to the fact that it still keeps the screen cap.
Mm.
Right. So, and that this information is routinely, depending on what so remember, read the contracts you sign,
Oh yeah.
because one of the default things you sign when you're installing in this may have been changed with more recent updates, to satisfy some of the security issues. But as of my last recollection and reading, this information is sent via telemetry to Microsoft. Now, the last I heard of this was when they fixed the fact that they were sending it unencrypted.
Yeah. I remember reporting on that.
Right. So, in the meantime, in theory, they have uh, fallen towards not sending it as encrypted information, but as reduced in reduced form. So pre-processed, so to speak. That does not prevent them from, in theory, reconstructing what you see on your screen at a later time. I mean, it would have the lens of the LLM that they're using, but if it is designed specifically if it is trained, I should say, specifically for the task of producing from the pre-processed output the original input, then it is likely that it is very good at that. If a single task item like that, you can train a neural network to do very, very well. Like that is so of the types of networks out there, there's one that's called a Hope Field network, and all its entire job is to return to you the input that you gave it. The output is the input, and the thing that's really interesting about these networks is the intermediate state doesn't have to be very big. If there's a lot of redundancy in the information, and there's if you can reduce the amount of information that's needed to reconstruct everything to a small form. So this is the way that dogs' brains are largely organized. their memory is largely reflective memory. So it's stored in these kind of hope field structures.
Okay.
And so the idea is that you don't have to provide the complete input to one of these networks in order to give the original input back to you that you wanted. So the thing that it quote remembers.
Okay.
The other thing is you can feed it an intermediate state that you might have produced from pre-processing and get the original output back, because that's the whole purpose of it, is to give you back the output as the that reflects the input, right? So if you can just inject in the middle the intermediate part of it that is much smaller than the original input, you can potentially get the output reflecting the original input. So what you saw on your screen. All I'm saying here is that these are purpose-built networks that can be very well trained. And if your screen is a certain size and you only need a certain resolution to see what's on the screen normally, say you got a standard 16:9 aspect ratio, you don't need to have 4K. You don't need to have a single node for every single pixel on a 4K monitor necessarily to get you back the original information. You could just say use a standard HD resolution, right?
Okay.
And you could still you could in theory get back enough detail from the reduced form that it sends via telemetry to get you the original screen. So, point being that a lot of the edge case things that people might think might trip up a system like that, it's actually fairly fault tolerant to a lot of those kind of details. So, again, end point being that if you're using Microsoft, know what you're getting into. I guess it's kind of what it comes down to. But the notion that they're fingerprinting you in certain ways, and they sell recognition of this as a service, the same way they do with 23andMe. If you have a relative 6 generations removed from you, and they're within the 23andMe kind of database, that is routinely accessed for law enforcement purposes as a paid service. Again, you don't need to actually be within that database in order for it to be able to be used against you if you're participating in criminal activities and say your information shows up, because they can find, for example, next of kin who may or may not know you. And if you're a missing person, now keep in mind, this also, again, missing person in this case, wanted or genuinely just missing and being searched for. Say you've gone missing and you have a schizophrenia issue. They might be able to find family members who may or may not know you. That kind of detail. So anyway, point being, this kind of data is put out there. If it's anything is free, obviously you are the
are the product
and you can see how the value of the product is changing with these changing rates on freemiums. So your email inbox size, or your email storage size rather, as a good proxy, in lieu of other products which are more lucrative at the moment. And part of that's because we keep fucking handing money over to a bunch of companies hand over fist to do their AI shit, when really all we want them to do is just do the damn thing they promised for the money instead of the thing that they want to do with it. In this case, instead of developing the AI, companies like OpenAI spending ahead on marketing and data center construction.
Oh, and don't forget to pre-purchase all the fucking silicone on the fucking face of the earth for a year.
Silicon. Not silicone. If only it was that easy.
Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, not exactly moving on, kind of lingering in a very similar field, something I was talking about while you were away, actually. How people are finding that flock cameras have mysteriously fallen over, and that if you do find that, you didn't see anything. Beyond that,
I have some good advice for people on flock cameras.
Oh, go right ahead. I'll go into my story here.
Putting a bag on a flock camera is not vandalism, because you have not damaged the device in any way. You're just blocking it.
No, how about that?
Also, If also there's a neat little trick where you just use a single 555 chip and a length of copper tube, and then a coil of smaller copper tube, and a little thin piece of aluminum instead of a dish-shaped bit of aluminum foil at the end, and a few like 1 or 2 farad capacitors, and
All right, sounds like a boop machine.
it's like St. Patrick's Day. It'll give you such a pinch.
Ah, yeah, well, a boop. I'll give you a boop.
So in any event, yeah, if somebody is directly spying on your property with a camera like that, depending on
Yeah, know your real quick on that. Know your property rights. If you've found something that has been installed on your property without your permission, you often have quite a bit of leeway in how you choose to handle that intrusion.
Well, for one, you should give it a good faith effort to get back to whoever it is who lost their property. And after a given period, check your local regulations on this one. But basically, within a given period, usually it's around like 6 months to a year, and as little as like 6 weeks, it could count as abandoned property.
It could.
In which case, you are free to do with it whatever you wish.
And if you find
just
yourself,
make sure that you get everything in writing.
Yeah. Make sure you're doing everything above board. And if you find yourself in one of these above board situations with some new free equipment that someone left for you, there is a large open source DIY or hacker community, if you like to call it that, on the internet that would love to have any and all data that can be acquired from such a thing. So, just putting that out there.
Access to the hardware.
Same thing, either or.
In which case, another thing would be, suppose that the quote original owner, if it is indeed them, shows up. You could always sell the said abandoned property to this whoever it is.
Sure.
At whatever premium you determine to be appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, they trespassed on your property. They've done you wrong. Who knows what sort of crimes have been committed against you. But on that, I have I got a little bit of a double or even maybe a triple segue in this, because there's a lot to talk about with Flock, but we genuinely don't have time for all of it. So, with some high points. Mm-hmm. On that, there is, let me see here, where is this? Out of Cleveland, yeah. Cleveland's got a number of Flock cameras about the city, and come the, oh, okay, so it's, it already happened, or, yeah, okay. So, as of a week ago, their contract ended. The end. City Council said, no, we don't really want to pay that anymore. So, you can just take them down. We're not going to be paying for those anymore. So there's 100, a little over 100, and they're on, and they're there, and they're doing their thing still. Contract expired on the 29th of June. And
keep in mind, they're going to try and say that these are license plate readers. They are not. They offer a license plate reading type service, but actually what they offer in reality is a vehicle identification service and a person identification service.
Mm-hmm.
That includes things like dings, stickers, car color, etc., not just your fucking license plate number. If there's a bend in your license plate, that might be part of their fingerprint to identify your vehicle.
Just a real quick note on license plate readers, because
so whenever they say license plate reader, they're lying.
Yes.
By the way.
Now, for the on the note of license plate readers, those use infrared and work pretty specifically just for license plates. And if you've got maybe an older license plate and it started to lose its shine, you can just use a little bit of matte clear coat, and that'll work very well to make it appropriate. But anyway. Beyond that, so what happened here?
A flock camera is that they're not.
A flock camera is not the same thing. It would not function at all the same in that situation.
Because they're color vision.
They are. They do indeed have infrared built in, I think. But
yeah, they use that at nighttime.
They're a full spectrum.
But they also use color. Yes.
So there's probably more than just color and infrared in there, realistically.
Well,
But we
frankly,
don't.
those are going to be the two sensor types that are in there,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's going to
the
be the
reason why they
overwhelming
wouldn't
amount.
be used coincidentally is because the infrared signal, infrared. So real basic CCD capture. Um, you have a bucket. You need to fill it up with water, so to speak. Photons strike the silicon. The whole photoelectric effect happens. You impose a charge on a dielectric. So basically, you're filling a capacitor with charge by striking the surface with a photon, causing an electron to jump. And when that electron jumps, it can't go back, and the next photon causes yet another electron to jump. So you're building up charge until every so often the chip is cycled, and the amount of charge that's present at the time reflects the amount of light of that particular frequency that is available at the time. So depending on how the silicon is doped. So this is how you get your RGB with a standard TV. Your contrast is basically how often the buckets are checked for how much water's in them. So a higher refresh rate means that you're more sensitive to you're more sensitive to like brighter lights. If you don't refresh very often, then there's a lot more time for additional photons to come in and fill up those little buckets. And what that means is you're now sensitive to darker images. So you can brighten an image by making the refresh rate lower, and you can darken an image by making the refresh rate higher. And so this is also dependent on the energy inherent to the kind of photons that you're sensitive to. So RG&B, relatively similar sensitivities, but you can imagine the blue buckets fill up faster per unit photon than the red buckets. Same thing with the green buckets. That would be between the red and the blue. Infrared, inherently lower energy than all three of those. The refresh rate is by necessity much lower because it takes so many more photons to produce a signal that is readable in the first place, that is distinguishable from noise. So what this means is typically you're not going to run both types of sensors at the same time, and even if you do, it's going to be two distinct chips. So like your FLIR cameras will have this neat little mode where they can superimpose the outlines from a color vision image over an infrared image. So things like that you can do, but it's going to be two different pieces of silicon, two different chips that are inside the device.
Oh, sure, but I mean, realistically, that's
so the
fairly
same thing
trivial.
goes for a FLIR camera. Is all I'm saying is
Sure.
that so when they can run color vision and they can run infrared vision, and they can do either one or both or none, at whatever time they choose. So that they're likely going to be using infrared at nighttime, but they might also use it at daytime to get a good crisp image on a static object. Like if
Oh well, undoubtedly, it's pulling
a
all
package
the
is on
everything in all the time. But
you can assume everything all the time. But I'm just saying like this is one of those fundamentals is that like a car driving quickly through say a highway thing, a highway toll booth. There's a reason they're so well lit. It's because infrared is not going to be capable of capturing that kind of information that quickly. The reason why they might have a grayscale image is probably because it was just cheaper to store that kind of data. They probably just averaged it from RGB data.
Oh yeah, that actually just a real quick aside that you kind of mentioned there is that we see black and white footage today. Why do we see black and white footage today? It's cheaper. Literally that. It's physically like money cheaper and it's data cheaper. It's smaller
it's way
and
cheaper
you
on
can
data.
have super crisp images without color or you can have not so crisp images with color. Long and short.
It's like the
for the same
beyond, like,
cost,
the whole,
if you like.
beyond the kind of undoing of redundancy by averaging across to get grayscale. So you get 3 or 4 times depending on your formatting. The data density just off that alone. There's also the compression advantage on grayscale because
Oh yeah,
It's
less to compress. So the
it's
differences
well,
are going to be
it's
more apparent.
the complexity of the information being compressed is drastically reduced.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So as said, it's just cheaper all around, literally and figuratively, to work with black and white.
like
So
the data
that's why
entropy
you
you can
see
pack in
black and
there
white
is
even in today's world. Like, why the fuck are people using that? That's
let's
why. Now you know. If you didn't.
what is it the data density the entropy density ratio is like it's 256 to the fourth or 4 to 256. I can't remember which one. It's one of those two. Doesn't matter. It's a big fucking number.
Oh, surely. Well, anyway,
I think it's
back to the point
256 to
here.
the fourth.
Back to the point on this here. So, out of Cleveland, the thing expired on the 29th, and people see the cameras, and they're up, and they're running, and they're running still. So, what's happened here is they've asked the city council. The council's like, yeah, no, we said no. So they asked the police, and the police are saying, yeah, no,
They're asking
we're not paying for them.
there.
And so
They're
they
asking
asked
the wrong question. It's not are we still paying for these, or we stopped paying for these, why are they still here?
Oh, well, there's an answer, actually. And that is that Flock is, out of their own graciousness, is keeping them on, and I quote, by way of the police, to keep the community safe. Because the
they're
company...
selling the service to the law enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Now...
But they're doing more than that. They're also collecting the data to train their models.
Well, here's the fun part about that. When asked specifically by reporters about the data being collected, about whether the camera's being shut off or that they are kept recording, and who has access to the data that is already there, the city and Flock have no answers.
Well, you see, Flock has an answer from before.
Oh, no. They have an answer right now. They have an answer right now, Craig, and I'm going to read it to you in reply to this, that they actually felt was a wise thing to do. Any decision on the status of the customer's cameras will be made solely by the Cleveland police and city leadership.
There's a reason they stated it that way,
mm-hmm.
And this goes back to their previous description in public on this, and that is by their security team. The data belongs to the municipality that is paying them on contract. This, however, says nothing of whether or not a copy of the data is made available to Flock for their purposes.
Indeed, says nary a word about it.
So while the data ultimately, the primary copy, if you will, resides with or it's going to produce a copy on Flock's end regardless. Whatever the hell they send to the city is going to be the city's data. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily all the data, and by all I mean including all diagnostic information.
Well, just like we were talking about, we don't know just what all's in one of those cameras.
So like I would not expect, for example, a company like Flock selling this data to the city and including in that a whole bunch of internal diagnostic data on the function of the camera and whether or not it's operating properly. So like that kind of stuff I can see just being like junk data as far as the city's concerned.
Fair.
As far as customers in general are concerned. Like I think that's fair. But there could be, there might be additional metadata or analysis data that is performed on top of data.
Well, case in point on this. We're talking about an electronic device. Another electronic device we've spoken of to the ends of the fucking earth is Dominion voting machines, which were advertised as having certain hardware, but were found, in fact, to contain much more hardware than was advertised, to the point, in fact, of being illegal for their purpose.
Yes, for example, specific example, being told this one really pissed me off. When they assured the public that Wi-Fi access was impossible because they lacked the hardware.
They don't even have it. Yeah.
When it turns out that they very much had the fucking hardware, and more importantly, you just said the important word there. They were air gapped.
Mm-hmm.
They had physical ports for plugging in a cable, so Cat5, whatever.
USB
and
ports as well.
multiple units. And the purpose of these was to provide updates and potentially analytics and local, in a local closed off network. So you have your LAN maybe, but that was specifically assured by law in places like, I don't know, Fulton County.
Yeah.
Just a random example. That they was specifically assured that these devices are air gapped. No cables are going to them. They lack a Wi-Fi capability completely, and they have no cable plugged into the USB port. Or sorry, not USB, but into the internet port. So their internet port. Turns out that they were plugged in. They were hooked onto a LAN, so they were all going to the same switch, and that switch had access to the internet.
To say nothing of the places that we've reported on them
Now,
having access.
This doesn't mean that internet activity was actively involved with the voting. It's just like this is specifically things that we were assured as the public were not issues.
That
and they were very much issues. So again, it's the same thing. With Flock, their capabilities that they have.
Mm-hmm.
A good example here being the part where they say that these are license plate readers. Just fucking not the case.
Yeah, just because it can read a license plate does not mean it's a license plate reader. Now, on that same on the same kind of mindset here, you're going to love this segue. You're going to love it because it really all just ties in together. From Brian Shortsleeve. I got you. Now we'll get you here. We got a Republican candidate for governor of Massachusetts. A good old fashioned rhinoceros, as you will. I'm gonna wager, considering his position here. But what he does, he brings up a point about the flock, not the flock cameras, the shot spotters, because we've reported on those as well, especially how helpful they were in the Chicagoland area. Anyway,
well, they have genuinely.
Oh, they can be
helped.
They can
scale of benefit and cost are going to be you can call into question, but like as far as benefits go, to preface these the shot detectors are remarkably useful when it comes to dealing with criminal activity, because most people are not going to be running outdoor rifle range in their backyard in a city.
Yeah, and there's only so many takeovers with cars that have no exhaust on them that are going to be happening on every corner. Nonetheless,
yeah. And those they've gotten them trained pretty well where they can detect the difference between a backfire signal and a gunshot signal at this point.
Well, the point I'm wanting to make with this, let me just read this off for you because you're going to love it. Because he makes a good point, but the meta is where it gets interesting.
Right. So, but there is a different side to it, yes.
Absolutely. So I'll just read off what he's got to say here. As a matter of fact, I'll read off the article title that is pulled from first because it makes the point. A man was found dead on July 4th after being fatally shot. Investigators think an hour passed before someone called for help. After Cambridge shooting death, police unions decry politicians turning off gunshot detection system. Shabam. So I'll just read this off for you here. A man was shot and left undiscovered for nearly an hour. ShotSpotter could have alerted first responders, but Cambridge politicians shut it off. Massachusetts Democrats are simply not taking public safety seriously. Fair point. Okay. They keep telling residents our communities have never been safer, but people can see what is happening all around them. As governor, I will back law enforcement, give police the tools they need, and put public safety over politics. Now, just at the get, these aren't really connected, but in fact they are, because the one has proven itself to be a fairly useful tool now that it's relatively well refined, understood, and can be used and suited for purpose. And when it was turned off, it was turned off. That's the other bit. Because this isn't gathering a million bits of data. All this is looking for is a bang. I'm going to tell you where that bang was. It's not going to tell you that man with that face walked by here at this time, then walked by here again at this time.
You see, that's the thing, is that's not why they were turned off, because you can always turn on something else.
Well, you can.
They were turned off because people were being racist about it.
Oh, well, that's the other funny part. No, they weren't
Yeah,
being racist
specifically
about
the
it.
people that
They were being anti-racist about it.
Yeah, that's
and
just
that's the
racism with a
real
Band-Aid.
problem. That's the real
Racism
problem.
with a fucking Band-Aid. That's racism with better PR.
Mm-hmm. You see, because it was working, and it was identifying shooters.
You know, I don't know about you, but
And
I
that's the
missed the part
problem.
where technology had advanced to the point where a gun picked which color hand it was going to fire out of. I'm sorry, only black fingers can fire me. What? What the fuck is wrong with you? I don't understand. The like, these people must have such a fucking strange a strange existence.
And speaking of strange and strained existences, we need to talk about Graham
Day-to-day
Plattner
life.
for just a quick
So
second.
bewildering. Oh yeah, rapist, Nazi, whatever the fuck.
Well, if
Democrat.
you'll hop in staff chat, you'll notice I made a fun meme for the situation.
Yep.
And
Yep. So here's the thing: is people will talk about him like he's the worst Democrats have had to offer, and I keep thinking to myself, well, you know, they tried to run Hillary Clinton for office.
they did indeed.
I mean,
So
as bad
they're
as
obviously
Graham
not
Plattner is,
they're not sending their best, as a certain man once said.
right?
So yeah. Anyway, he's so it wasn't the Nazi tattoo. It wasn't the beating his wife. It wasn't the maybe fiddling around with a 15-year-old. No, none of that. It wasn't even it wasn't even the questions about his weird business deals. No,
Nope.
he might have assaulted someone, maybe.
Yeah, they're all frankening him before he can get in. This is really sad because I don't know if Kyle Klinsky is going to get that sex conversation between his mom and Graham Plattner anytime soon.
Yeah, he did mention that he would be more than happy to set them up.
I'm sure after making that available, it was immediately pounced upon as an offer.
Could be. And speaking of things
We'll have to ask Kyle about that conversation persistently for the next, I don't know, 3
Forever?
or 4 decades.
Sure.
I don't expect him to survive much past that. His heart's probably going to give out, or his blood pressure is probably going to take him out.
It could.
Poor guy.
Indeed. And on an update, in fact, on well, some people might call him a poor guy, but not really. I mean, Freddie's living his best life. Let's be real. Even if Germany got knocked out, he's traveling America having a grand time. And as a matter of fact, I'll have you know, he got the invitation to the White House and accepted. He's not really posting anymore, sadly. And I have got a little update for you on that. But he did go ahead and visit Nick Adams, the representative. Actually, set him up. He came to the White House, got to meet everybody, have the whole awesome 4th of July experience. But one of his older tweets was found, and just from 2 years ago, 2 years and about a month. And I'll just read it to you, and it'll be pretty clear why he felt the need to step back and make up your own minds. Anyway, from Freddie, 9:38 p.m., August 9th, 2024. Racism can be directed towards any racial or ethnic group, and whites are definitely a racial group. Well, you say something like that, then, by golly, you might as well have just said the Earth is not only flat; it's inside out and upside down too. You're just dead to the world. The awfulest of awful, I guess. So there's your Freddie update. He's having just having a great life, being able to enjoy things. Unfortunately, away from social media, not able to share this genuinely uplifting experience of just traveling backwards America. But oh well. What is it they say? Communists ruin everything. And if they don't, then they should. So let me see here. There's an update, as a matter of fact. an update on an old story, one that I honestly thought was just dead and gone, that we were never going to hear from again. But here we are. And this one, definitely left field. So, Nord Stream. If you'll remember that, it used to be a pipeline that ran through the Baltic Sea. Until something happened. And then more greenhouse gases than basically since the time of the fucking Exxon Valdez oil spill released into the atmosphere. But nobody really cared about that because, well, why didn't they care? Isn't that curious? Anyway, Germany has decided to file some charges on the people that destroyed their infrastructure. That charge now, 3 years out. They've been looking hard to find them. Top, bottom, left, right, inside, outside, everywhere they could look. Everywhere except Ukraine. And by golly, as soon as they turned their eyes a little eastward, by golly, they found a man by the name of Sergei. A Ukrainian man by the name of Sergei. And they're throwing the charges on him. The last name is Sergei K. Interestingly, they didn't want to release the last name because, well, it's Sergei Kuznetsov, a former officer of the Security Service of Ukraine, the SBU, retired captain of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and a commander in Kiev in the first weeks of the war. Fascinating. And interestingly enough, too, he was not found on the front lines. They didn't even have to go even into Kiev to find him. No, he was actually vacationing last year in August in Italy, enjoying the beach, as you do, if you can believe that. So, the story here, they go through the whole thing, give you a little bit of background. I'll include that, of course, below for everybody if you want to kind of get an update on things and just see where the case itself resides. But there we are. How very fascinating. And, of course, the people that would have made these calls, these are ambassadors and government officials, so they are, well, quite untouchable, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So, we take these things as we can get them. But isn't that funny? Isn't that just the funniest thing?
That's fucking hilarious.
Teedly-hee. Also, a very funny thing. There was a Las Vegas attack that was thwarted, thank goodness. There were no comps of sushi, no multiple rooms rented, no unbreakable glass shattered, no terabytes upon terabytes of child porn on a computer that was made before there were even terabyte hard drives. None of that. No, sir, none. In this case, just a man who thinks he's a lady with rather an amazing array of weaponry. And I do mean amazing. There is a Ma Deuce in this collection. 2 grenade launchers, multiple SBRs, multiple high power, and I do actually mean that, at least 308 and up, sniper rifles, at least 2. And I believe a FAMAS even is in this collection. Now, if you know anything about guns, that's a lot of fucking money. A lot of fucking money. Where are these mentally deranged people acquiring these monstrous arsenals and genuinely hard to find and high dollar products? I would just like to know. Like, I'm looking at this picture, and there has to be $500,000 in gear in just this one thing, and they said there were many thousands of rounds. So, thousands of dollars more. That's it. That's all I got for you. Allison Howlett, as he liked to be called, was arrested for planning a mass shooting and has this astounding arsenal. I would love to have more on that, but There isn't, so I'll just include that. And oh, the other part I should mention: the entire arsenal was in the car. It's so odd, and I've got nothing more on this. What the fuck is up with shootings in Las Vegas, man? What the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And in other what the fucks, but let's turn it around and send it back to the source. One of Gavin Newsom's attorneys, well, I don't know if it was one of his attorneys or whatever. It was anyway. We've spoken of the Podestas and their curious interests. It would seem that a daughter of the Podesta family, Alexis Podesta, this time was in fact working with the government and not surreptitiously for its enemies. Alexis was wearing a wire since at least June of 2024, and Alexis works directly with Gavin Newsom. Oh, Gavin.
Very interesting.
It is. Now, this is, I'll throw a link to the story so that anybody that wants to actually read up on it can. But the long and the short of it here is the noose tightens and the days grow shorter and shorter for Mr. Newsom as his corruption is uncovered. I heartily look forward to it.
You know, I do caution people.
Yeah, don't get your hopes too high in the Newsom arena, but yeah.
Consider the many, 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 many times that national media has ginned up the "we've got him this time" vibe around Trump. So.
Yeah, that's a knife that cuts both ways.
Right.
That it is. That it is.
Well, that, I think, is a perfectly appropriate good news for me to exit on, because I do need to go.
That is fair. That's fair. Actually, I've got one more you might want to hear just real quick.
I can't, because that turns into an hour, and I'm afraid I can't do it.
All right. Get your sleep, my brother. Get your sleep.
Good night.
A good night to you. So that, everybody, that's Craig, good friend of mine. You can look him up at CraigBob99, all the places. And with that, yeah. Got a little bit more news for you that I'll be happy to share before we call it quite an evening. Let's see if we can't round ourselves out a good 2 hours here. Maybe not. Maybe so. We'll see. But out of 4chan and Ofcom, because it seems the two of them are being very cordial these days, talking to each other a lot. That is to say, Ofcom is more making lots of demands. Demands that are not being met, much to their chagrin. So let's just hop on over here and take a look. We've got Ofcom, confidential. A confidential. I guess this wasn't meant to... Oh, it says classification confidential at the top. Goodness gracious. Well, that's just wild. I hope nobody like Preston Byrne, the attorney for 4chan, made a point of sharing such a thing as well as its reply. Oh, looks like he did anyway. Dear sir or madam, payment of penalties is overdue. As you are aware, Ofcom has issued 2 confirmation decisions dated 13th October 2025 and 19th March 2026 respectively in relation to investigation into 4chan Community Support LLC. We refer to our cover letters for these decisions, again, dated 13 October 2025 and 19 March 2026 respectively, which detail the requirement for 4chan Community Support LLC to pay the penalties imposed by our confirmation decisions. The penalties imposed by the confirmation decision dated 13 October 2025 total £26,000. The penalties imposed by the confirmation decision dated 19 March 2026 total £568,000. Payment of these 2 sets of voluntary monetary penalties... non-voluntary... Payment of these 2 sets of monetary penalties was due on 13 January 2026 and 1 July 2026, respectively. We note this is now overdue. In the absence of full payment of the penalties, using the bank details included in this letter, by 9 July 2026. Oh, well, that's tomorrow as of recording. Ofcom will consider formal action to recover the full amount of the unpaid penalties. If you have any queries would like to discuss the matter further, please contact online safety informant at ofcom.org.uk. Yours faithfully, Ofcom Enforcement. And Preston Byrne, being a thoughtful man, a man of science, as it were, a man of today, a man of tomorrow, perhaps even, sent this very thoughtful reply. As 4chan has no assets in the United Kingdom, given that it has no connection to the United Kingdom, in parentheses, that would require you show up in a U.S. court as a plaintiff, waive sovereign immunity, and overcome existing U.S. doctrine regarding the non-enforcement of foreign regulatory penalties. We suspect that this isn't going to happen. We also suspect you know it isn't going to happen too. If you'd like to help us set up some new precedent, we'd be grateful for the opportunity. If not, in the immortal words of Michael Jackson, just beat it. In parentheses, did you see the new movie, by the way? I thought Jafar Jackson was simply fabulous in that. My client reserves all rights and waives none. And attached was a picture of a giant hamster smoking a blunt or a spliff of some variety, holding a peanut in a Godzilla costume, wearing a Thug Life cap. An appropriate response, I'd say, honestly. And I'll, of course, throw a link to Preston Byrne's thread on there because he, goes into some detail, lays it all out, breaks down the legal precedent, and whatnot. All those important things you need to know. Well, let's see here. Beyond that, I don't have only bad news out of Venezuela. I have overwhelming bad news, unfortunately. The death toll has risen to very nearly 300 as of yesterday's reporting, but crews are still at work. Even as of today, people are still being rescued and pulled out of the rubble. So, dark times, if you're a praying type, maybe say a prayer for the people of Venezuela. Let's see. Beyond that, what else do we have? I mean, really, there's quite a lot we could hit up. We should probably mention, even despite the blockade having been ended and talks continuing productively between U.S. and Cuba, even still, their grid collapsed yesterday, and they've been without power, I do believe, about 24 hours. Reports, though unreliable, state that there is, again, unreliable, there are reports that there was a great draw of electricity sent to an unnamed location in the Los Angeles area that was used, again, reportedly on a shot caller, but I can't verify, can't confirm, can't deny it. That's just the reporting. Those in the know, that's what they're telling me. So take that with a grain of salt. But, there you go. So, what else we got? There was that bombing in the Ukrainian guy. We reported on that. Here was about a couple weeks ago. Happened in Monaco. Anyway, she's dead. Found dead in Ukraine. She is gone. So, what did she know? Well, she knew who hired her. And that's probably all that she had to know. But, interestingly, there's a man, ex-Ukrainian cop, note, that was found to have a torture chamber under his house. Oh, sorry, I failed to mention what branch of policing he did. He was in the Ukrainian intelligence policing. So, it's more of a who she knew on that side of the fence that basically, almost without a doubt, is the source of her untimely demise. Which, well, they're pretty cutthroat over there, from the one side to the other, and I can see President Putin getting very, very tired of Ukrainian shenanigans, not to mention the escalating prices of gas, in Russia, all around. As a matter of fact, they've risen rather substantially to the point that they are rationing gasoline even in like backwater places. So they're getting tired of this shit, and can you blame them? It is what it is. Anyway, what else do we need to cover tonight? Man, we've got a lot of heavy-hitting stories. We kind of hit all those. We hit the big stuff. New York is decided they will be reporting significantly less crimes because that always looks good for a communist when they're in charge. So, a little bit more money for me, a little bit less reporting of crimes for you, a little bit less society for everyone. Everybody loses except for Mr. Mamdani. Except for him. So, oh man, what else have we got here? We got, all right, the Odyssey. The Odyssey. So, I would like to read a quote from Tom Holland as they were shooting. Stated, apparently about Nolan. So, here you go. The most preposterous rainbow was coming out of the castle I was supposed to be going home to. It looked like something out of My Little Pony, so they had to reshoot the scene. Because it looked too good and had too much color. It was obviously far too saturated, colorful, and full of life, unlike the fucking Odyssey. God, they can't do anything right anymore. Anyway, you don't hate Hollywood enough. So, yeah. God forbid we inject a little bit of color into this. Not happening. Not happening. So, anyway, they say Mitch McConnell has risen from his grave. I think somebody said that they were going to vote on the SAVE Act, so... whatever it takes to save that life, get him up and moving. All right, what else have we got? Oh, jeez, yeah, no, sorry. The update was 3,535 as of yesterday, so well above 3,000, and undoubtedly growing as each day that passes is that much more time when people who desperately need help aren't getting it. Hey, I wish I had a happier story there, but I'm not going to end on that because I don't end on bad stories. We end on good ones, and I actually have a few. So the first one, we'll touch back on something from last week, and that's Citizen Vigilante. Banned, as you might know, in Germany, but released to widespread audiences, 18 and over, of course, in the UK. Well. It looks like it got a little big for their britches, and it's now getting a theater release in Germany. Mind you, as famous an R rating, 18 and older, but, well, it was just a little bit too big, and there's just nothing that can be done to stop something when it becomes such a cultural icon. Now, there's going to be plenty of people who will poo-poo the movie and a specific scene, which I myself will say is a little lacking. So, Uwe, I know you don't listen, because I've only just tagged you recently in the show, but you should be. If somehow this message reaches you, sir, the car crash, throw a little bit of the money that you've made on this to directors cut that movie just a little bit, add a little bit of polish here and there, and mwah, it'll be beautiful. Because I saw what you're going for there, and I get it. But it could have been a little bit more subtle and still absolutely got the point across. As it was, comes off a little schlocky and fun, where I think the scene maybe called for something a little bit more somber and serious. Nothing wrong with schlocky and fun. Uwe Boll is schlocky and fun. But it's a pretty somber movie, pretty serious movie. So I think maybe, give it that. But who am I? I'm just some guy. Some fake guy. Haha. Anyway. What do we got here? What else have we got? The good news? Yeah, how about it? Unfortunately, we can't do the double header because I was really, really hoping that we'd get the England versus U.S. match. But no. England did, however, beat Mexico. And considering the way the Mexicans were treating the British down there, kind of shitty. So, you got it coming. What do we got elsewise? A couple of few things. Some news about Brian Johnson, which will surprise no one. He's got well, not a terminal, but he's got a stomach disease that basically his autoimmune system is attacking himself. But of all the people to have such a thing, he is probably one of the best because he's generally one of the generally and genuinely one of the good ones. He's doing all the things to try and find the solutions to the problems. If anybody is surprised that he had some sort of uncurable something that he was railing against and not telling anybody, well, you probably shouldn't be surprised. Let's be real. Everybody that's aiming for this is... they're either fighting demons or they're running from something. Or, as is the rare case, they just feel they've got too much duty and too much that they have to do. So, either way, let's wish the best for this guy, because he's a good guy, and he's trying to make the world better. Even if he's a little weird, a little autistic, we like a little weird, we like a little autistic. Those are the guys that get the world really hopping and bopping, moving and shaking, making things happen. So, Godspeed, Brian. I really do hope you, hell, if nothing else, brother, I hope you find somebody that's able to cook you up a cure in their closet or their, fucking... what was the one the guy did last time in his garage? He came up with the, a specific genetic treatment for his dog's, I can't remember what it was. It was like some absolutely debilitating thing. I had like really bad tumors, and was basically able to just get rid of them. So maybe something like that for him. And the thing about this is, once you've done it once, you've done it, and it can be done again. And that's what really matters, because once you break that ceiling, it's done, and interesting things can start happening. They said a man's never going to fly, and then the Wright brothers pulled it off. So, there we are. What else have we got here? I want to close with some good stuff, so... okay, yeah. I gotcha. Let me throw a link to something genuinely new. Of course, we've talked, obviously, about Emily Eustace and the series she's doing, the Will Stansel Show. Fully AI thing. There is another out there that I have mentioned, at least in passing, and that's Psy-Op anime. They're using a very different style, a more 90s anime, but they are putting out good content in a very digestible form that is visually striking. And as a matter of fact, they've just put out their first full-length news report, and I will throw that in the links down below. Be a YouTube link near the bottom. And definitely worth your while. Very, very stylish, very classy, and generally pretty well put together. Now, I know I had something else. I know I did. Oh, right. Two things. The one, broken clocks are right twice in a day, and it does appear that Zoran Mamdani is not one of those broken clocks that's running completely off-kilter with everything. He's just a normal broken clock. They're going to be opening a food pantry in New York City for pets. And, well, by golly, I am willing to admit when the people that do wrong and make the world worse do something good, well, that's what we're here for. We do balance. We do the truth. And, sometimes shitty people do good things. Sometimes they do. And there you are. But that's not the end. I'm not going to close on somebody that is an absolute piece of shit doing something good. That's not happening. What we're going to close on is updates on ReactOS. Talked about this a little bit here and there. And basically, it is, my opinion, the future of open source computing. ReactOS is an open source clone of Windows XP. Release candidate 2, I should even say. But with everything modern, full DirectX, full modern video drivers. And I believe just recently they have fully integrated modern video drivers. But they've got this working on an old HP Pavilion laptop. They've got this working on rather numerous pieces of hardware. What was the other new one? The HP Pavilion Elite. That's one of the, I think it's like one of the all-in-one screen unit deals. So, excellent. So we've got a confirmation of Half-Life 2 and Halo, both working great. There's the other one I want to tell you about from this. They got an Windows NT6 system call, which means NT compatibility, Vista compatibility, and opening up to further down the line, perhaps even Windows 10 compatibility. And maybe, as the line goes, things get interesting. Oh, the other part, they're working on ARM64 expansion out, so this really could be quite the thing. I'll throw a link to the ReactOS profile there, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. But it's pretty cool software, and I support it. Since nobody's really doing anything with Temple OS, rest in peace, St. Terry. May you be driving over all the glows that you can find in your angelic automobile. Rest in peace, Terry. Anyway, I think that's a relatively appropriate closeout for the night. I mean, we've had something nice to say about some things. Feel like I should have something else to tell you. Well, oh yeah, I do. Something about Alzheimer's. Let me grab the link here real quick, because there has been there's another new drug just came out. Actually, where did they get this thing from? What was it? It was one that you've already got in your body. So they've isolated something from our own tears, called it lysozyme. It's an enzyme that is it's in your tears, and apparently it has the ability to it interacts with amyloid beta and tau proteins that are linked with Alzheimer's. What are the early studies here? It could break. Okay. So this, like what we had talked about before, where it might be able to halt the processes, that might not necessarily destroy the amyloid plaque buildups, which are such a big cause of this. This enzyme breaks down those amyloid plaques. So we might, fingers crossed, we might be looking at a 1-2 punch on Alzheimer's. We might be able to fix this thing in just the next few coming years. And by golly, that's a good ending. That's a great ending. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Absolutely my pleasure to do this show with you. Of course, Craig was with us earlier, CraigBob99. I'm Evan, at That Fake Guy Dan, all the places except Facebook, because, duh. And, well, thank you again for showing up. Thanks for listening. You made it to the end of the show. You're a fucking superstar. Share it with everybody. If you'd like to support, all the links are below, in addition, of course, to everything we've talked about. But beyond that, I hope you had a great Independence Day, or if nothing else, just a good weekend. And I hope that you have a great week coming up. Talk to you again real soon. All my heart, all my love, etc.